Welcome to the Ambitious Broker Podcast, where elite real estate professionals share their secrets to success, discuss topics impacting their industry, and gain professional development insights. Enjoy today's episode. Welcome to part 2 of our Icon series with Stephanie Vitacco. We're going to pick right back up where we left off on part 1, and we're going to play the last few moments of part 1 and then roll right into it. Enjoy today's episode.
So I remember I went home and I said, Dad, I sold a house this weekend. I think I'm going to sell another one this weekend. I could feel like I found them a house and they were liking it.
Right.
And he said, don't get your hopes up. Just don't, you probably can't.
The engineer.
Yes,
the engineer
conservative.
cannot.
And I was so angry at him. I was like, I'm doing this. And from then on, I didn't tell him anything. Because I didn't want that negative.
Negative, yeah.
And he didn't mean it in negative. He meant protective.
No, he was pragmatic.
I did sell 2, and then I sold another because, again, it was just, this is what you were supposed to do.
Right.
So, in fact, when I bought my first house, I didn't tell him till after because I knew if I told him, he would tell me all the reasons. Oh, my God, what happens if you can't make your payment? What about the property taxes? How are you going to afford it? What about this? You're only in the business for a year. And I would have been like,
Yeah, crazy.
So
yeah.
I came home. I bought my first house probably within a year of being in the business because I wanted to get out. I didn't want to rent.
Right.
Go back to renting. So I came home and my dad said, how was your day? And I said, I did this. I did that. I bought a house. I did that. You did what? I said, don't say anything negative. Right. Don't talk me out of it.
What happens if you can't make the payments? What happens if
Yeah, he did. He scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the first year, then you were doing business. You just took off running,
swim.
Right?
Get past that breakwater, whatever it takes. Swim past the breakwater.
And you're legendary, really. I mean, you don't know it probably, but I mean, the one thing that people say about you is that you worked a lot.
I do.
Yeah, and you still do.
I do.
You still do.
Yeah. I don't know that.
How many billions do you have to have before you slow down?
I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
The money is good. And for me, like everybody has what they need to make them feel good, whatever their language is, right? They need to feel lots of love. They need attention. For me, I need to know that no matter what happens, I won't be in the poorhouse. That's just my own. And that I don't have to ask anybody for anything.
Yeah.
And that I'm okay. So that's my own thing.
Yeah. But you're way, way past that.
Yeah, but I have.
There's no poorhouse in your future.
I have.
You'd have to let me manage your. I'd have to manage your money for you to end up in the poorhouse, for God's sakes.
But it's not, and I know it sounds corny, but it is. Yes, it is about the money, but it's not just about the money. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy being good at what I do.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing a good job. I enjoy knowing that when you call me to your house, man, I can handle this for you, and I'm good at it. So step aside, let me do this. And that makes me feel good when they're like, wow, because I know how to do it.
Okay,
and I know how to do it well.
So when you first started, now you're in that first year, and all of a sudden you're selling out. And all you're thinking at that point in time is, just keep moving, right? Mm-hmm. And it's hard to know how blessed you were to be around 4 guys that were doing business and getting nothing but that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I know those guys, and I know the company, and I know
they're good guys. They were good guys.
Yeah, but there was a competitiveness there. There
huge.
was
And I think why they were nice to me is because I was young, and I looked very non-threatening.
Right.
Like there was like, oh, she's just this young girl.
Right.
What's she gonna do?
But people.
But I was nice in the way I asked. I wasn't pushy, or maybe I was pushy, but nice pushy.
You're persistent,
persistent, not pushy.
Yeah, but that's you.
Yeah.
In your business.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you get through the first year, and you've done a lot of business already relative to most people.
I did okay.
You did 4 houses in your 6th month in the business or something. So now you're starting to feel like you're probably not past the breakwater yet.
No,
right, but
not at all.
But you're starting to feel like maybe I'm
crap kicked out of me.
Right.
Oh my God! There was one time where I showed these people houses. They had a house to sell, and they were going to buy a house. And I showed them house after house after house after house after house, and everything was great. And then I got that call. we were out at an open house this weekend and we found a house. And I was crushed because I had shown them, a gazillion houses.
Sure.
And I said, okay, I understand that. Hopefully you'll still allow me to sell your house. Oh, no, that agent told us in order for us to buy that house, we had to list with him. So I could tell you the address to this day. I literally got up. I went in the conference room. There was four walls, of course.
Yeah.
But there was 3 solid walls and 1 glass wall.
Right.
I put my back to the glass wall and I lost
Scream.
it. Yeah, I screamed, I cried. I was emotional mess. And I was like, all right, Vitacco, there's no crying in real estate. You can't do that. This is going to happen.
Right.
So how could I have done different or better?
Right.
And also, how can I adapt to this is what's going to happen, right? You're going to strike out no matter how good you are. And I still don't like it to this day when I strike out. And I still do. When I strike out, I don't like it.
If you get real comfortable losing, that's a really bad sign.
I'm not comfortable losing, but I'm more accepting of it. Although when it does happen, it still is just like it stings.
Yeah,
it still stings.
It should.
It does. I'm like, man, especially when it's something that I know I could.
I remember I was coaching Pop Warner football years ago, and we had lost this game, and it was the last game of the year. It was a championship game, and they had to be 11-year-olds. I mean, crazy. And the kids were crying. And one of the coaches says, there's no crying, and, you can't be crying in football. And I looked at the guy. It just ticked me off immensely. And I said, if it wasn't worth crying for, it wasn't worth doing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I said, so you leave the guys alone, you cry all you want.
Yeah.
Because, you'll get over it. Yeah. But feel it.
And it's, I think it's the pain that causes you to want to go further, right?
Right.
Like you
or
don't want to lose.
Beat you up.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose. So what do I have to do so I don't feel like that? Because that doesn't feel good.
Doesn't feel good.
So how do I master my skills?
Right. So when you were first starting, your skills were you were starting, but you brought something from your past with you. That's one thing I learned a lot about having all those agents throughout the years. It was very interesting to see people come from different backgrounds and see what came, either they learned it earlier with their previous profession or something, or it was just natural in them, but they brought it, and then they had to build on that set of skills to see if they're going to get really good at real estate.
My natural is tenacity. I've always been tenacious. If there was something that I wanted, or I wanted to purchase something when I was young, and my parents said, sorry, we don't have the money.
Right.
And I really wanted it.
Right.
So I figured out, I started babysitting, and I set a goal, and I just did the babysitting until I could buy that.
So you had a goal.
You tell me I can't do it, I will find a way to do it.
Right.
And I didn't give up.
Right.
And so that's
good thing to instill in someone early. Did you think of it as a goal? Did you say this is a goal, or you just wanted it? You just wanted it.
I wanted it.
So it wasn't a goal per se. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, how do I get that?
Right.
You got to work. Okay, what can I do? I'm 12 years old. How do I work for that? I'm 13 years old.
Right.
What can I do?
So your curiosity and your persistence were just in the genes.
In the genes.
Yeah. That's good. Competitiveness is really hard to teach people. And you're one of the most competitive people I think I know.
I'm a little bit competitive.
No, you are.
I wish sometimes I wasn't.
No, I know. It's a sick disease.
It creates a monkey mind sometimes.
Yeah. All right. So now you're a year in the business, and you're doing well now. You bought a house, moved out. You're not with your parents anymore. That was a little bit of a adjustment too, probably a positive one.
No, it was
Look
all
forward
good.
to it.
So I was out of the house from 18 to 21.
Yeah.
And then moved back into the house at 21 for a year. And I have great parents. I mean, I have a lovely family. Right. So I was cool with it. It wasn't anything negative for me. I was also 21. So
right. All right. But already you're starting to feel like
moving back home.
You're starting to feel like, I put up 4 deals like those guys did. So you're starting to at least sense that you can play this game, right?
No.
No?
No.
Really?
I'm terrified.
Okay.
What if it all ends tomorrow? What if I never sell another house? What if this was just dumb luck? What if?
Right.
I'm real good at beating myself up.
Right.
I don't need a coach to tell me to work harder.
Right.
I am my own worst enemy. I'm my own hardest critic.
Right.
It's never good enough for me. Someone else might say, it's rare that someone else would say, Stephanie, you're not doing good enough. I'm already there. Like, I know what my faults are. I know what I need to do better. And then I just kick the crap out of myself over it.
So how do you, when you look at these, what you call faults, your instinct is to say, well, this is a fault. I'm not bad because of it. It's just something that I can improve. Is that kind of the mindset?
Yeah. How do I do this better?
Yeah.
Why do I keep losing to this person? What are they doing that I'm not doing? What am I doing incorrect? Right. How can I do
That's
better?
The persistence thing.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you my experience in one of the things I would tell any ambitious broker would be that you have to take that really critical look at yourself. But my experience has been that people sometimes have a hard time being critical and not losing their self-esteem at the same time. Does that make sense? You know, be like, no, it's okay. It's okay it's okay to not be great. But who you are, you know.
That was never an issue for me. My self-esteem and my self-criticism have never.
Yeah.
They really don't cross.
Right.
I'm comfortable with who I am.
Exactly.
But man, I can do better.
Right.
And that's up to
me. And it starts with that.
Me.
See, with me, it goes back to football again and coaching because, you know, we would have a game, we'd videotape it, go back, study the videotape, see what we did right, see what we did wrong. Well, what we did right, we did right.
Right.
Don't got to spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
So we'd spend such a disproportionate amount of time on the few things that we did wrong. So it was just so natural, just so inherent that you would do that. When I got into the real estate business, particularly after I started my company and working with agents, was to realize how difficult that is for people to say, I'm not good at this and still be a good person, still be great at what I do.
Really?
And
I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah. And so it's interesting that you didn't have that feeling. It was kind of just
maybe I did. Maybe I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, but you weren't going to get beat.
No.
That was obvious. You weren't going to get beat.
Because if he could do it and she could do it, why can't I do it?
So is that where this legendary work ethic came from? Where, I mean, because, you know, I've heard stories about you. I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard stories about you sleeping at the office. Is that true? You'd sleep at the office, right?
Not for the whole night.
Maybe you did have body odor or something. Nobody told you that. Okay,
No.
But you would. So you worked. So you worked long hours.
I would. Yeah, I worked long hours.
And that was just saying that's what I have to do.
I still do. It's what it takes.
Yeah.
There's no free lunch.
Yeah.
There's no.
So would you say someone knew if you're going to do 400 sales a year like I do, you're going to have to.
You have to work your ass off.
You're going to have to. You're going to have to sleep in the office.
You might.
Marry a crazy guy.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's hard work. It's
just
what
hard
is it?
work.
The only place that's. How does that saying go? The only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary.
Right. So what I found out was that you look at professions, and professions say doctors, attorneys, accountants, engineers, and they spend a lot of time learning what they do, the service that they provide. And then they get in the business. Dentist. I have a buddy of mine that's a dentist, and it's like I remember him telling me he went to school, became a dentist, and then all of a sudden he goes, then I had to learn how to sell this.
Yep.
And in real estate, it seems to be people start learning how to sell before they learn the service that they're providing.
Totally.
Right?
Completely.
Yeah. So you did that. You were out selling.
I was.
And before you knew really entirely what you were doing. Right.
Oh God. When I was first door knocking. And this is your fault, actually, now that I think about it with the pumpkins.
Thank you.
Because it was in, it was watermelons.
You're not the first woman who's blamed something on me. I want you to know that right now.
It was watermelons, because after you guys started pumpkins.
We did some watermelon, yeah.
So I got in the business in March, and I was door knocking in June, July, around 4th of July.
Right.
And this older gentleman opens the door. Yeah, what do you want? And I was like, and that's what just scared me to death. That was just what made me want to go running and like, don't be mean.
Yeah.
And I gave him my little spiel, and he said, where's my watermelon? And I'm like, you're what? What? You want, I could go grocery shopping for you. It's Vaughn's. I didn't understand, right? Like, oh. And then I said, well, I just kept moving with my questions. And I said, well, are you planning on making a move? Yeah, I am. What have you sold? And he points at me. I'm like, oh, man, they didn't tell me how to answer that question.
Right.
And I said, well, would you like a list? Because, of course, what was I going to say? No and nothing. And then it was closed. It was
right.
Done. He said, yeah, I want a list. I said, okay, give me your number, and I'll call you back, and I'll get you a list. And then I went running back to the office. I went over to one of those 4 guys and said, I don't have a list. Let's do this together. We'll use your list. My name will split it. How about that? And he said, great. So he had the list.
Because he had a list.
Became my list.
Yeah. Our list.
Our list.
Yeah.
And then also I could learn from him too.
Yeah.
So I brought him in.
So you gave up half a deal for a list.
For a list and a lesson and a listing. A list, a lesson, and a listing.
Yeah. The 3 L's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so then you got your year in. Mm-hmm. You're doing pretty well. You're doing some numbers. And you're starting to learn a little bit about what it is you've been selling.
Oh, yeah.
The service a little bit, right?
I'm totally learning. I realize I have my learning curve was like...
Yeah.
Huge. I knew nothing. I mean, I would take all the contract classes, but I didn't really understand.
You didn't have a problem splitting the deal with someone?
Of course I did. I didn't want to, but the other choice was to slam the door in my face.
Right.
So,
but in general, it sounded like you were pretty. You were eager to trade.
I knew.
You take people.
I knew that I'd have to do things to learn.
Right.
And so whatever that took, that's what I would do.
You had to learn to sell, and then you had to learn about the business itself.
The business.
And you learned the selling fast.
Pretty fast.
Because a lot of it was persistence.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's get past this. You're a year now, a year and a half in the business. At what point in time did you go, I think I can be pretty good at this?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know, because I always thought I wasn't doing good enough.
Right.
So, I thought I was doing okay.
Well, there's a thing. I tell people that insecurity is a cancer of real estate. It is the cancer. It's the thing that gnaws at you. It gets inside of you.
Oh, yeah.
Insecure about when the next sale is going to happen and so forth. And to me, farming was a really good lesson for me, because what happened is, and I learned it only after I had a bunch of salespeople that were farming. And because I was out there doing it.
It works.
And it works. But what worked really was not farming per se. It was being very consistent with the things that you do. Yeah. And you got it because they picked it up from our company where you would. So it was you'd send something out once a month. You'd send it just listed, sold out. Whenever it happened, you'd door knock. Once every 60 days or 6 weeks or whatever the plan was. But it was consistent. Yeah. And it took about 4 years, probably 3-4 years, to where people would believe that, if you just do these things, this happens. Cause, effect. And it was almost like, if someone gives me a job, you want an insecure place in life, go have someone hire you and then see what happens. They can fire you anytime they want to fire you. Say goodbye whenever they want to. But this idea that all of a sudden to have this rhythm, the things that I do and stuff comes back and I do it again and it comes back, and suddenly you realize, wow, it's like pushing a button. And then you get secure.
More secure.
And that there was something about that. And that's where farming helped a lot of people. A lot of my agents where they got to the point to where they just knew they were going to be in real estate now.
Right.
No doubt. This is the rest of my life. And you had that moment, I'm sure, at some point in time, or did it just kind of ease into you?
It eased in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So now you're
excuse me.
Now you're doing a lot of business. So you're finally starting to do some business in your second or third year, and now you're no longer just doing some business. Suddenly, you became really big.
I figured out how to work hard and to do a good job and to be able to do a lot of deals.
Right. Just
couple years in.
And then at some point in time, all those deals you did start coming back to you in the way of referrals, like you said, your farm and stuff.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So, but that's 6-7 years in your career before you start feeling that kind of thing, I think. Usually. I don't know if it was like that with you.
Yeah, probably. Again, it was painful. So
right.
You block out the painful part.
So what took you from doing good, really good, 4 deals, 30 deals, 30 deals, something like that? What took you from that to doing 100 plus?
Dina Myers. Yep. She was twice my age. I had my desk. They gave me one space, right? And I was overflowing. They wouldn't give me more space. And I was on the floor. So I just encroached into the aisle, encroached onto the floor until they deemed me a fire hazard. Seriously, they did. They deemed me a fire hazard because I had my pile.
Is that next to your bed? Next to you.
You know what I would do in the office is I would just lay down on the floor behind my desk and take a cat nap. So one day, and I work better on the floor. I like to just spread out and sit on the floor. It's easier for me.
Right.
So she was twice my age, and she came up to me, and I'm in my early 20s, and she has her hands on her hips, and she's looking down at me, and she says, "You need my help." She's an agent in the office. And I looked up at her, and I was like, how am I going to pay you? What if I don't do another deal? My business isn't, I don't feel like it's stable.
Right.
And she was going through a divorce, and she had been in the business for a long time, and it takes so much energy to cultivate business, and she wanted more.
So is this 3-4 years in?
Maybe 3.
3 years in.
Somewhere around there.
So you still had that sense of insecurity.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
You still hadn't felt like I'm in control of what happens. It's always like
no. There's still a huge learning curve.
Yeah.
And again, keep in mind, it's not like I came in from where my curve of learning business in general was here, and I'd been at a company for 10 years, and I really understood. Now I'm just changing lanes.
Right.
I was a kid. I was green. I didn't understand business.
Thank God, huh?
Oh my, yeah, probably, because I didn't have any preconceived issues.
Right.
So she said, "I need you. You need me. Just pay me for 90 days, and we'll take it from there." I was like, "Okay, I can deal with 90 days, right? I'm not committed to you for life. We're not getting married here. It's just 90 days."
Right.
And then after 90, she freed me up so much that I was staying till 1 or 2 in the morning because I'd work on the business, in the business during the day, and on the business at night. Who's going to do the files?
You call in night.
Like who's following up on the process? Who's following up on the contracts? Who's doing the paperwork?
Right.
There was no TCs. I was the TC. Like we did it all.
Right.
So I had to do work with the clients during the day and work on it at night.
Right.
So she's like, "I can do the TC part." She didn't call it TC, but I can help you with that.
The paperwork and get organized.
So this way you can go home earlier. Okay. So you can get organized. You're not going to be all your stuff in the floor. So after 90 days, it freed me up so much that I still stayed till 1 or 2 in the morning, but I was able to take it to the next level.
Right.
And then we hired another person. And then I realized, this is how you leverage.
Right.
And it was leveraging more because it doesn't help the client if I'm the one making the copies of the papers that the DRE needs. Like I don't need to be doing that.
Well, your strength was to get in front of people and your persistence and so forth.
And putting the deal together.
Right.
It's the making the deal happen, getting the house prepared, showing the properties, explaining the contracts to the clients, going through it with them. And then all the other stuff, who's preparing the flyers, who's taking the photos, who's doing
it's funny you say that because again, this whole team concept today, which is it's another story I'm not real happy about because most teams aren't like your team where they're there to support you. Most teams are some sort of
And do you know why?
Fraud.
Because I was shut down, right? Like I was, when I remember a guy came to me. So now I have people working for me administratively.
Right.
And this guy came to me and he said, "Stephanie, I'm a good agent. You can't handle all of these leads. There's just not enough hours in the day." I said, "You're right." He said, "So let me join your team. We'll work them together." So I did that. And my broker said, "You can't do that. I'm the broker. You're not the broker. You can't have a buyer's agent working for you."
Right.
And I was like, "What? Okay." Well, it just seemed like the next logical progression.
Sure.
And it was, but that was before people had buyer's agents, right?
Right.
They would just refer it out. So he came to me and I was like, "Yeah, this makes sense. Join my team. We'll work this together. We'll grow." Nope, couldn't do it. So I had to figure out another way to make it
work. Well, what I saw was that, and what you did was right. And I think this is an important point for the ambitious brokers. And that is that if you're going to bring someone in and start doing paperwork for you or assisting you in some way. Administratively, or whatever it is they're going to do. If you're not taking that time that you spent doing those things that this person is doing and use that time to go get more business or they're an expense then, they're not an investment. And that's what I saw people do. Or they would bring assistants in without really knowing what they wanted them to do. I would see people with assistants for 6 months and still not have the relationship ironed out. You do this, I do that. It was sort of not understanding exactly what I want them to do. You sort of had a clear vision that I need more time doing that. So taking you and having you do this will let me do more of that, not give me more time.
We hope you enjoyed this second part of a 3-part series with Stephanie Vitacco. Stay tuned because part 3 is coming out soon. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Ambitious Broker Podcast, where elite real estate professionals share their secrets to success discuss topics impacting their industry, and gain professional development insights. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please rate it and leave a review.